Hello class, today we're going to learn about Frankenstein. We are going to go over characters, setting, important points, details, everything. We're starting off with Jordan.
Okay, so we have Victor, and he's the creator of the monster. He decides to isolate himself because people do not think it's cool that he studies alchemy. And because he decides this, he sparks revenge in the monster and ultimately ends up alone. The monster is abandoned by his creator. He's forced to live out in the wild using the elements of nature. He has a very sympathetic nature. He tries to help people, but all he gets in return is violence. He also often compares himself with Adam and Satan from Paradise Lost. He's often conflicted with who he is and who he is perceived by. Then we have Justine and Elizabeth. They're both symbols of innocence and purity, but they both become collateral damage between the fight, Victor's and the monster's fight. Henry is a good friend of Victor's. He serves as a strong contrast to Victor. He enjoys life and the beauty of nature, is an optimist, whereas Victor's is very cynical. And then finally we have Walton, who's a very adventurous man who encounters Victor when stuck between sheets of ice. He kind of serves as a symbol of who Victor once was, very adventurous and eager to learn. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the plot a little bit. And this story is a framework story, so it's a story inside of a story. Kind of weird. So it starts out with this character, Robert Walton, that she was talking about. And he's writing letters to his sister Margaret, and he's telling her a tale about how he's on this big voyage, and he finds this man while he's stuck in ice, and the man is like his only friend, and so the man starts telling him his story, and then that's when the letters stop and chapters begin. So at the beginning of the story, the new guy's name is Victor, and he's telling Walton about his plans of his studies in college and like his whole life pretty much, and basically he decided to create a monster, but as we discussed in class, we don't really know if he really wanted it to work or not, but it did, and when it came alive, it was way uglier than he ever imagined, and he did not like it at all. And so he ran away from it and abandoned it, and it has been alone ever since. And so while he's gone, he finds out that his brother has been violently murdered, so he goes back home to see his family, and while he's there, he's standing in the woods and he sees the monster, so he's like, oh no, he for sure killed him. And so now he knows who murdered him, but one of their friends, Justine, is being convicted of it, and so she ends up being sentenced and she gets put to death for a crime that she didn't commit. But so that's really weighing on Victor, but now Victor goes off and meets his monster in the mountains to seek his revenge, and the monster starts telling him about his upbringing, and this is when we're gonna bring in Juliet for this part, for monsters.
Computerception. Okay, so here's the thing with the monster. He was living in this cottage, he was looking through the crack in the walls, looking at all the humans. And the sad thing is, this scene shows us the monster's humanity, because he has not done anything evil. Remember, this is before the murder of William. He has not done anything evil. He just wants to be beautiful like the humans. He sees himself as hideous. He reads Paradise Lost. He's like, OMG, I'm like Satan. I'm a fallen angel, all that jazz. And so the most important part of the scene is the monster comes into the cottage and the humans are like, OMG, that thing is ratch. So they hate him. They treat him so unjustly. It's horrible. And so for the first time, the monster acts out. He decides he wants to be evil, he wants to seek revenge, and this plays on the theme that when people are treated unjustly, they move from being human to unhuman. They become monsters. He was not a monster before, but now he is. Let's bring back Chelsea. Chelsea!
Or Megan! Megan! We're gonna bring back Megan! What?
Alright, hello. So, Victor decides to go to England to make another monster because the first monster he made wants a girlfriend. So he goes to England, and after he decides there that he's not going to make the new monster, so he quits his plan, and the first monster is super mad and violently murders his friend Henry Clerval. Then Victor marries his love Elizabeth because he went back to Geneva? He moves back to Geneva because he falls sick because he was so mad that Henry Clerval was murdered by the monster. And he was accused of it also. Alright, so he goes back to Geneva to marry his love Elizabeth, only to have her murdered on the wedding night. And Juliet is coming in now to do some depth analysis.
Second important scene in the book is when the monster kills Victor's wife, because the monster had promised revenge on Victor. He's like, you didn't make me a girlfriend, so I'm gonna seek revenge on this. And Victor's like, oh no, he's gonna kill me. I better be able to get married first. Little does he know, really, the monster is gonna kill his wife. Here's the thing. This shows that the monster and Victor are actually quite similar. Victor did not let the monster have a female counterpart. The monster does not let Victor have a female counterpart. This plays on the idea that the monster is a bit of Victor. Victor made him. Is Victor the monster? Is the monster the monster? This is the idea that this scene is showing. Also, it shows the monster's humanity again. He understands his suffering. He understands that he was not given a female, so he wants to show the same suffering to Victor. Had he been a monster, he would have just killed Victor, but no, this monster has humanity beneath him. Let's bring back Megan.
Just kidding.
Or
it's
Chelsea.
Me. It's me. So, by the end of the book, everyone that Victor loves is dead. And then he also dies. So now there's no one but the monster, and then it goes back to Robert Walton writing his letters to his sister Margaret yet again, which is kind of cool but kind of confusing. Kind of throws it off a little bit. But so in the letters, Walton says that Victor has died, but while Victor was dead in the room, he saw the monster in there, going and grieving, and the monster was super upset. And he was so sad, and he regretted being evil and all this stuff. And then he decides that he's ready to go off and die. And then that's how the book ends. Sad face.